Looking at ways to use the studio strings within Logic Pro to evoke a sense of the real instruments. So I've just recorded in a few different tracks on the string instruments using the different techniques that you can use within the software to make them sound a bit real. So let's have a listen and then we'll talk through it. Okay, it's lagging a bit. This is the last part I was just beginning to work on, which is this melody line, which isn't quite there yet. The rest of the accompanying part, I think, is starting to get quite a nice sound. So chords on the viola, double bass playing a pizzicato line, got harmonies in these two cello parts. And then these two ostinato ideas in the violin viola. So when you're on an instrument, let's just select this cello part. If you click on the eye and make sure these two tracks, these two parts are not down, double click on the strings. And you can then experiment with these different articulations. So just press Command K to get up the keyboard. So the default is to go to sustain. I don't think it sounds particularly real, but if you experiment with these other lines, it starts to sound a bit more real. So staccato. Spiccato. Full shot. Now if you use all of them excessively, it won't sound that real, but if you blend them all together and then manipulate the automation and the velocities, it will start to begin to sound a bit more real. Start to scoop fast, scoop slow. And then you've got trills and tremolos, which you don't want to use too excessively, but at some points in the piece it might sound quite nice. So if used improperly, it will sound very fake, very MIDI-ish. So all of these could be used quite nicely. Now within each track, so let's use the melody that is on the violin here, which is not showing up. There we go. Right, so double click on it. Now within the piano roll, you will see this articulation box here. So what this does is it means that you can manipulate each note as you go. So as you click on it, you can see I've got staccato there, staccato, staccato, accented sustain, full short, sustain, sustain, forte piano fast, staccato, staccato, sustain, and then this trill. So it doesn't sound quite right at the moment. So it's just a case of going through and playing around with each part. So if you blend together, changing and manipulating these articulations, making sure the notes are the right length. You will start to get a much more realistic string part. Crescendo fast, let's try that. So this is our part at the moment for the melody. Don't think that one quite works. You could try these scoops, for instance. Or I might just want to keep it on one of these shorter accented notes. So alongside this, to make it sound more real, if you click on this automation button, a really good way of making these phrases and parts sound more realistic is to manipulate the velocity. We are trying to make this MIDI instrument sound like it's being played by a human. Now, it's not humanly possible really to hit every note with exactly the same velocity. Generally, we're going to want slightly more accented start of the phrase. If you do lines like this, again, it won't be that realistic because, again, we're not going to have our different phrases have that much smooth line. Let's just see how that sounds. I think we're going to want to hit that downbeat a bit harder there. Let's listen back. Okay, so we're starting to begin to get a little bit more of a realistic sound. Now with this trill at the end, I wanted to experiment with trying to get this trill in. If you just play the trill on its own, it can sound quite brash like this. So what I've done is I've opened up A for automation, and you'll see I've put this crescendo in the trill because I didn't want such a strong attack to the beginning of the note. Let's listen to that note and just listen up for this crescendo here. So we're beginning to get there. There's a lot still to do with this piece, but I think it's beginning to get a nice sound blending together these different effects on the strings. So the key thing, once you've worked on that articulation, make sure you double click on the different parts and you then manipulate these velocities. You'll see I haven't done that on these chords yet. So for instance, these chords, these offbeat chords on the viola, I think we can make them sound more realistic, okay? We might be able to blag it for a short period, but over a piece of music, 3, 4, 5 minutes, the listener will be able to begin to understand and hear that this is a computer playing these notes and it's not real. So we want to evoke more of a sense of human element to the music, okay? You'll see that each of these, I've got them on the spiccato, apart from this, the full short. Again, this I think needs a bit of work to make it sound a bit more real, but once I've played around more with the automation and those velocities, I think it's going to begin to get more of a strong feeling.